what does the current insurance market look like?
We're seeing much more expensive insurance. It's like the insurance companies are finally getting caught up with inflation. Like it's hitting finally. We paid out like 3 times as much in insurance claims like last year than normal, that kind of thing. So everything's just way pricier. You're probably going to see an increase. If you're buying a new home, it's probably not going to look like what it did a few years ago even.
Welcome to Lawrence Real and Local, Keepin' It Real podcast, presented to you by the Lawrence Board of Realtors. We are your go-to source for all things real estate in Lawrence, Kansas. I'm Lexi Haskin with Flint Hills Mortgage.
And I'm Emily Robertson with McGrew Real Estate. Together, we're here to make the journey to homeownership a breeze. Join us as we share insider insights, expert advice, and a dose of fun along the way.
Welcome to Lawrence Real and Local, and we're just Keepin' It Real podcast by the Lawrence Board of Realtors. My name is Lexi Haskin with Flint Hills Mortgage.
I'm Emily Robertson with McGrew Real Estate, and I'm a co-host for the podcast with Lexi.
And we have Thea. Okay, we're in Leadership Lawrence together. How do you pronounce your last name?
So my last name is Lease. My middle name is Lael, and that's what's on my Facebook.
I got it off of Facebook.
Yep.
So
okay.
Thea Lease is the...
Thea Lease. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, I don't know how to pronounce that for some reason.
It throws everyone off, but yeah, it's Lael.
I also just like, Lael, or like, I'd be like, Lexi, what are you doing? Well, okay, Thea, Lael, Lease. With Farm Bureau Financial is here with us, and we're going to talk about insurance today.
It's going to be exciting.
I mean, no offense, Thea, everybody's favorite topic.
We always say that. We're like, okay, are you ready for your insurance review? So exciting. Yep.
Oh,
so
my gosh.
what got you into insurance? Like, what got you into that industry?
I was honestly looking for something really challenging, and it has definitely held up to be very challenging. It's super complex and a lot of kind of putting puzzles together or solving problems. So that's what kind of got me into it. I was living in Manhattan, and a friend that lived in Lawrence knew of the Sparkes, who I work for, and knew that they would be like a good place to work for. So just kind of started that way, just jumped into it, didn't know as much as I should have known about insurance when I started, but learned along the way. And yeah, it's been about 4.5 years.
Yeah. I mean, you're just learning something new every day, too, in that field. And
Oh my gosh, yes.
Things are just constantly changing. And I mean, we're going to get into some stuff a little bit later, but I mean, wow. And I mean, there's so many different types of insurance, too.
Yep.
So I know today we're focusing on homeowners insurance, but I mean, what are different types of insurance that people could be aware of, too?
Yeah.
Yeah. So home and auto, a lot of times they're bundled together. So home and auto insurance, you can have umbrella insurance, which is like extra liability that you can add on. There's like commercials, like business insurance. Obviously, there's health insurance. I don't dabble in that very much. And then life insurance, there's like disability insurance, all different types.
Yeah, there's like insurance for everything now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, might as well just stay protected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's our motto for sure.
And I mean, especially too when people have mortgages and things like that, homeowners insurance is required.
Right. So some of it you're just kind of required to have if you own a vehicle, if you own a home, that kind of thing. But some of the extras are just getting educated about what you need or what you should have, and just working with your insurance agent on what's best for you.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
So what does the claim process generally look like when someone does file a claim for insurance?
Yeah. So a couple things to know when you're like, okay, I need to file a claim on my policy is who do you call? And then also to be aware of your deductible.
Yeah.
So if your deductible's $1,000, if your deductible's $3,500, you kind of need to know that before you file a claim. But really knowing who to call. So if that's like the local office, to call and kind of say, hey, here's what's going on. Is that correct that I should be like filing a claim, like get some insight on it?
Yeah.
or like every company has like an 800 number, like a claims line to call to file a claim. So what it kind of looks like, different for every company, but you're going to call and file the claim so that it's on record, and then you'll get assigned an adjuster who will help you through that claims process, help determine that it's a covered cause of loss, that it's above your deductible so that there's anything to pay out, and then just kind of help you through that process.
So in order to figure out if it's a covered thing or not, do people have to provide like pictures? Does an actual insurance adjuster have to come out and look at the claim to see if it's even something? And how would they even know, like, yes, that's covered?
Yeah, so a lot of times an adjuster would come out to see the issue. Sometimes it's, if you've got water, like a burst pipe, so there's water everywhere. It's, figuring out what those next steps are to like stop any more damage. The adjuster might look at if you have like a mitigation service come in, they'll work with them to see how much damage there is, what the cause was, that kind of thing. So it's multiple people kind of getting in there and seeing what all is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what different aspects can affect the cost of insurance just in general?
Yeah, so definitely claims. It depends on what type of claim. But definitely if you have a lot of different claims on your policy, that can surcharge your policy.
So if somebody had like an other house where they had claims on it and then they're moving to a different house, would you be able to track and see how many claims they filed in general? And then that could affect how much they're getting. Okay.
Yes, it's going to depend on the insurance company.
And the type of claim?
Yeah, the type of claim. And then each insurance company, it depends kind of their rules on what they have to surcharge for. So we might look at something and say, okay, that was at Lexi's old house. We don't have to rate for it. But there might be other factors that say like, oh, yeah, even though that was at her old house, we still are having to charge her for that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm just okay. Sorry. Continue what you were saying. I bet that when you said that, I was like, wait, this could follow me around. I can never get past this. It doesn't fall off my record like a speeding ticket. No, I'm not.
So it does kind of though, because people aren't going to look. We're not going to look at like 10 years ago or something like that. So it's, again, each company is different, but it's a certain time period that they're going to look at, the type of claim it was, how much was paid out. If $15,000 was paid out versus like $500, it's gonna depend on all of those things.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what other factors? Sorry, I just completely interrupted you
while we were talking.
You're like, okay, Lexi got us way off track. Okay. Yeah.
So there are a ton of different things. So like obviously, a claim can influence that if you're having to be charged for that claim. Usually like 3 years or so is how long. And then a couple kind of general things are like where you live, like we're in Kansas, what type of claims are common is going to depend on how much your insurance is. Obviously, it's going to be different in different zip codes, that kind of thing. And then insurance is very individualized as well. So it's going to depend on the amount of insurance that you have on your home. Obviously, like $150,000 versus like an $800,000 home is going to be maybe more expensive. Depends on what deductible you carry. A higher deductible normally means that your insurance cost is going to be lower because you're taking on more of that risk yourself. Excuse me. And then a lot of people don't know that there's also an insurance score.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's most all companies, insurance companies, use a credit-based insurance score.
Yeah.
So what that means is based on what your credit score is, if you're good at paying bills on time, things like that, you're a better risk to the company. So they're able to give you a better rate on your insurance. Other things that go into that are like your driving record, your claims history, things like that. So
a driving record could also affect your homeowner insurance rate?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that also fall off after a certain amount of time, or is it okay?
Yeah, so it would be kind of that same thing. And I don't know how it obviously is for every single insurance company, but my experience has been that it's kind of this magic secret ingredient.
Yeah, I love it.
Potion that like we don't know exact all of the exact things that go into it, or
That makes sense.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we don't see your credit score. We don't see a lot of those details. We just see that like, hey, you're a 10, and that's a really good score because it's closest to 1, that kind of thing. So you have really good rates that we're able to give you. So it could be too that like, if someone has a really, really good insurance score and they've got that really expensive home with a low deductible, they could be paying the same amount for insurance as someone with a not so great insurance score with a very small home and high deductible. So it really depends, and it's very individualized.
What life changes can you have that warrant a update in insurance?
Yeah, so some obvious or big ones, obviously, like if you're purchasing a new home or a new car, that kind of thing, you're kind of forced to go talk to your insurance agent or get a new quote.
Forced. You're forced to speak to us.
You're required. If you're adding on to your home, if you are adding any big like detached structures, or really any detached structures, it's good to make sure that those are still covered or how you think they're going to be covered. If you're doing major updates to your home, or you're adding a bedroom, adding a bathroom, anything like that, you want to make sure that your insurance is still enough to cover that. But then also things people don't think about with liability, especially because liability is worked into your homeowner's insurance. So basically, if someone was like hurt on your property or something like that and they were suing you, how much you're covered for there. If you, start getting promotions at work, if you have larger retirement accounts, because I've been working for years and years, there's more of an exposure, like a risk exposure for someone to go after.
That makes sense. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are good things to talk to your insurance agent about to see and make sure you have enough liability insurance. So lots of those kinds of things. Or if you come into an inheritance, that kind of thing, all of those types of things are good to talk to insurance agents about.
So, I mean, another couple things, like if you get married or you get a divorce and your name changes, probably a good thing to get changed and updated.
Absolutely. Yep. Married, divorced, all of that. When you have kids,
they probably need insurance. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of, if your kid goes to college, like all these different life changes, just to make sure everything's good. And hopefully you're not just waiting until big things happen to review your policy, and you're kind of keeping in touch with your insurance company and just making sure it still is working for your life.
So how, sorry, I was going to say, before I had another question that was going to come back, but I was wondering like how often you should review your policy, if it should be reviewed yearly. Is that what you were
that was my question too, so this is perfect.
Yeah, so we say yearly, absolutely. So we're always calling our clients at least once a year to review things. Some people don't want to do it every single year. I would say at least once every 2 years. A lot of people are like, well, nothing's changed. And then you start talking and you realize that a lot has actually changed. You just don't think about it when big things happen in your life. You're not like, I should tell my insurance agent about this.
I need to copy it right now.
Yeah, you're not thinking about that. You're living your life. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. So another thing that's really, I should say, popular for people to do too is maybe one person will be on the loan or on the contract, and then after closing, they'll quit claim deed on their partner or somebody else they would also like on the property, but they weren't necessarily putting them on the loan for whatever reason.
Is it recommended then by you guys to put that person on, since they're also on the deed, on the insurance policy after closing?
Yeah, so whoever is on the deed or the title of the home should be listed on the insurance policy.
That makes sense.
That's my understanding, at least. Again, different companies might give different advice, but yeah, that's kind of the general sense is if you have insurable interest, then you want to be listed and have that coverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does the current insurance market look like?
We're seeing much more expensive insurance just across the board. I mean,
Everything's more expensive, so it makes sense.
Yeah, everything is so expensive, and it's like the insurance companies are finally getting caught up with inflation. Like it's hitting finally. I think we did somewhere like 3 times. We paid out like 3 times as much in insurance claims like last year than normal, that kind of thing. So everything's just way pricier. So I would say if you're looking at purchasing a home or just being, aware of what your current policy is doing, you're probably going to see an increase. If you're buying a new home, it's probably not going to look like what it did a few years ago even.
Yeah.
So just being aware of that and having to budget more for insurance than you may be used to.
Because, too, it also depends on where you're located in each place, too. And, for example, in Kansas, too, the wind and hail deductibles are going up, too.
Yep.
And then, I was talking to somebody else, and they were talking about how insurance rates are just going up in general, too, because of all the natural disasters that have been happening nationwide.
Yeah.
So they're spreading out those premiums and costs and coverage to everyone, not just the people in those areas.
Well, and even in Lawrence, like that hailstorm we had last year was, I know a ton of people got roof damage from that because it was like quarter-size hail or something ridiculous.
Yeah. So definitely if you're in an area that has been hit by natural disasters, you're going to probably feel it even more because those insurance companies in that area lost a lot of money, paid out a lot in those claims.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you brought up the deductibles because we're seeing that as well. So like 1%, 2% wind or hail deductibles, or just having like a set requirement, like a $3,500 wind and hail deductible. So again, just everyone kind of having to like figure out what the new normal is with deductibles. And, deductible for your home used to be $500. Like we obviously don't see that anymore. And now
that'd be great.
Yeah,
I'd love that.
Now we're way, way higher. So just, everyone
Bring
having
those
to
back.
Your insurance cost would be way more expensive than it is now if you had a $500 deductible. But yeah, we're definitely seeing that the higher deductible requirements as well.
So what info is required to receive an insurance quote?
Yeah, so good question. So info about your home. So insurance companies will need to know the roof year, wood heat, different questions like that, finished basement, any of those type of questions. And then also personal info. So like date of birth, social, that kind of thing. So definitely, if you're going online to get a quote or something like that, keep that in mind that if they're not getting the personal info, they're not maybe running all of the reports that are needed.
Yeah.
So you could have a surprise once you actually bind that policy and get your insurance rates.
Yeah.
Because it might not be a full picture of what it's going to look like.
So to give people also like a better understanding on like why things are required, because I've had people just ask me, why did they need my driver's license? Why do they need my date of birth and my social security number? Why can't they just give me a quote?
Yep. So I'd say, again, insurance is very individualized. So in most all companies, I don't know, I couldn't tell you a name of a company in Kansas that doesn't do credit-based insurance scores. There might be some, but I don't know of them.
Yeah.
And so it's all individualized. So to give you an accurate quote, we're going to have to get that because otherwise it's not accurate. It
can be very
whatsoever.
skewed.
It could be very high or it could be very low based on your info. And then with the driver's license, a lot of companies give really good rates for bundling your home and auto. So the driver's license for sure, that's maybe why they're pulling your vehicle info and
Okay, just see how you can get the best deal with
Yeah.
everything you've got. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't some companies too requiring that you do bundle in order to use them? I want to say
Possibly.
like Travelers.
It's possible. I think a lot of companies are just having to change how they do things to protect the company and make sure that they are going to be solvent and make sure that they have enough to pay out in claims. Some companies are closing or not accepting new business or certain types of business, certain types of homes or wood heat, things like that, just all different things. So, yeah, I'm sure there are some that are requiring it.
Wow.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, I mean, what other things that we haven't covered do you think that people should know, especially when buying a house or being a homeowner, just should know that they probably don't, or just frequently ask questions that you get on a daily basis or weekly?
I mean, absolutely work with someone local. I mean, most people work with a local real estate agent and they work with a local mortgage lender.
Yeah.
Work with a local insurance agent that you can actually meet with either on the phone or in person and get educated about your policy and what coverages you have. I mean, that's the biggest thing because you'll get educated on what you have. And if it's someone that you trust, then you know that they're like looking out for your best interests and not just trying to give you the cheapest insurance or things like that.
Absolutely. I think, I mean, personally, I always feel better about it too, just because you are giving so much personal information to be able to be like, I know this person, I see them locally. Like,
A lot of people today definitely want to go online for everything. I mean, we see that with everything. It's quick, it's easy. But yeah, definitely working with someone that you know or that you're referred to and other people trust is a huge thing. But yeah, I think just the complexity of it, people don't understand. So, and it's hard to understand. I mean, I don't understand health insurance. Like it's so complicated. So
absolutely
working with someone that can kind of explain it or answer all of your questions is huge.
I mean, just having somebody to call, I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, and then especially being a lender too, having to order the evidence of insurance and getting that, just having a direct contact that even I can call on behalf of somebody else.
Yep.
It just makes the process so much better instead of having to go through the customer service, then having them call this person, making sure they have authorization. Like, it's just, it can be really complicated if you just go online instead of just having somebody that's direct.
Yeah.
They can talk to, ask questions, can work as a team, as a partner throughout that whole process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's a really good point too. Yeah, it just makes it easier on the customer, the home buyer might not even see the back end of it, but it's going to make it so much smoother and quicker to get things done and ready for closing if you have local people or actual person that you can talk to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So kind of talking about closing, how far in advance would you recommend somebody like reach out to get a homeowner's insurance quote? And so as soon as they get the contract or just before they're going through, or how far before closing so you can make sure that there's a good turnaround time, or just in general? So not even just speaking about your company.
Yeah, I would say general. I mean, really as soon as possible. So I never specifically know, I guess, where they're at in the process when they're calling. But normally they have a closing date. They know that they're obviously working with a specific bank or mortgage lender. So just as soon as possible. I know I've heard a lot about companies just their underwriting taking longer because of all of these changes and new requirements and things. So giving your insurance company a little time to make sure they're able to get everything that they need on their end. But really, I mean, you can turn around a quote pretty quick unless it's super complex or there's issues or things. So, I mean, you can get it done in a day or so.
Yeah.
So it just depends. But I would definitely as soon as possible, because then you're able to make sure that the insurance company can get you everything that they need, get the bank everything on time, and that you understand, like, oh gosh, this is going to be way more expensive than I thought. Like, do you need to look other places for insurance? Does that work? Can you meet with the insurance company and look at different deductibles or, coverages, that kind of thing. So I would say as soon as possible.
I mean, even just like with lenders just saying, shop around.
Yeah.
See, it's always good to shop around it because, really what we want is what's best for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This year especially, it's pretty crazy with increasing prices. More people than ever are shopping. It's pretty crazy. So many people are getting quotes that wouldn't have normally because maybe their insurance is going way up or, whatever that might be. So yeah, getting different quotes and just seeing the value of different insurance companies. So what fits best for you as the home buyer and who's going to help take care of you and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what different property types and things about properties would make it a longer underwriting process that people should be aware of when looking at homes, or even just educating realtors too, when they're looking like, hey, we want to be on the lookout with this with the insurance companies?
I would say, so for us at least, and I don't know about all other companies, but if it's like a farm or ranch risk, those are going to take a little longer because we do a lot of underwriting with it. We go out and see the property. We, meet with the client. We go over a lot of things. So if it is like a new purchase like that, or if it's, a big property or multiple outbuildings, things like that, that could make it take a little longer because there's just more to quote. But it really just depends. Some of the hiccups are, if they've had some accidents or violations in their vehicles and you have to get underwriting approval or just extra underwriting to look at it. So it really just kind of depends on the risk. But I will say one thing that made me think of, we're always asking about the roof year. If that's something like to educate the homeowner, like, okay, like go get your insurance quote. By the way, the roof year is this.
Yeah.
We got that from, the current homeowner or wherever you get that. And then what type of shingles. So for us at least, okay, is it just normal shingles or is it impact resistant? And if it's impact resistant, is it class 4? Is it class 3? Because those are a huge discount to homeowners.
Oh, that's awesome.
The year of the roof is a huge discount. And if they have impact resistant shingles, it is huge. So that's really important. And a lot of people just don't know that. And you can't find it online unless the Zillow thing says what the year is or something.
I mean, you'd have to call the roofing company probably to figure that out too.
Yeah, you have to do some digging. So those are really, really big factors on homeowners insurance.
So we want to jump into our last game, or
here I had one more question. Okay. No, but I was gonna talk about also like manufactured and like modular homes. Would those be something that would also take a longer time as well?
Yep. So that's a great point. So for us, that is something that takes a little bit longer because there are just different guidelines, different requirements. So we just have to work closer with underwriting to make sure we have all of that good to go, because the last thing you want to do is tell the client something, one price, and then underwriting sees it and says, nope, we gotta do this instead. And then you're like, oh gosh, like, okay, well, we're off or something like that. So yeah, that can definitely change the requirements and
everything
take a little
like that.
longer. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay.
I was gonna say, now we can jump in, Emily.
Okay. So the first myth we've got on here is filing a claim always increases your premium. Is that myth or fact?
That is a myth. It depends on what type of claim. So anything that is, like Mother Nature, hail, wind, like a tornado, things like that aren't going to hurt you. Same thing with like a car. Like if it's hail damage to your car, you hit a deer, something that like you can't control.
Yeah.
Those don't normally hurt you to file. So get that new roof from hail damage. That shouldn't hurt you. Things like that. But if it's, a collision loss, if it's fire, if it's theft or water damage, those are all normally chargeable.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
And then homeowners insurance covers expensive personal belongings in your home.
Yeah, so it definitely does. So we get a lot of questions about, like computers and expensive couches and like TVs and all that. Those are all covered under your policy. But definitely talk to your insurance agent and just make sure you understand, because policies are all different. So, AmFam versus Farm Bureau versus State Farm, like they're going to be different. What they cover and what they don't, if they have like a cutoff for those things, electronics, anything like that. And then there's always going to be things that you can like schedule out to make sure you get the full value of.
Yeah.
I would say most, probably all insurance policies have limits on certain things. So like jewelry is a big one. If you have something, that's $15,000 or $5,000, your wedding ring, it probably needs to be scheduled out. But again, just making sure you know what your policy is going to pay out, because it's going to be different for each one. Nice. Guns is one. Many firearms. We see like fine china, fine art, things like that, have a limit.
Yeah.
So, it just depends.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then your home is automatically insured for the current market value. Is that myth or fact?
That is a myth. So one thing that we always have to explain to our clients is the market value is going to be different than the replacement cost value, and that's what we're looking at when we're looking at how much to insure your home for. So the market can be way up or down, but what are the materials and the labor going to cost to rebuild your home right now? So there's a difference there, but then also just because your policy should be keeping up with inflation doesn't mean that it's necessarily correct.
Yeah.
So definitely, again, meeting with someone. When I first started, like 4.5 years ago, we were lowering amount of insurance because everything was like way inflated. And then it was like, oh, we rarely ever lower anything anymore. If not, we're increasing. So it just kind of depends on materials and labor and that replacement cost. So definitely check in with your agent on that one.
Sweet.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We got a lot of good info for this. Yeah,
I know.
Did you have any like last minute things that you can think of that people should know that you just want to throw in there?
I would say, bundle as much together as possible. That is like the biggest thing ever. You can even like bundle your life insurance and get different discounts for that. So
that's awesome.
Bundle as much as possible. Meet with a local agent or someone that you trust to really make sure you're getting the most discounts, just the most out of your policy. Yeah.
Sweet.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, and also let's say thanks to the Lawrence Public Library for letting us record in here.
Absolutely.
And thanks for keeping it real with us at Lawrence Real and Local. And for all those listeners out there, make sure to subscribe to the button below or on your screen. We want to keep growing and keep this podcast going. We want to educate.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for listening.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks.
Logging out.
Thanks for joining us on Lawrence Real and Local, Keepin' It Real podcast. We appreciate our guests taking the time to join us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review if you've enjoyed today's episode.
For more information, please visit us on the web, www.lawrencerealtor.com. And remember, whether you're buying, selling, or simply dreaming of your future home, we're here to help. Until next time, keep it real
And happy house hunting.